What's good, everybody? It is your boy Tony T. Tom West back at it again with another episode of the Cam and T podcast with my co-host and y'all's co-host as well, Cam. Man, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's good, bro? I'm good, chilling, man. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, bro. Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah,
Bro, I'm kind of at that point of summer now, man. I'm just ready for sports, bro. Like, I'm ready for
yeah,
real sports to be back. I'm ready
right.
for, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm ready, bro. Like, I'm so tired of just the mundaneness of July. Like, I honestly hate this month because sports-wise, there is nothing going. Because
Right.
sports-wise, you got to think about it, in the month of July, most of the time, there's not even baseball going on like that for a good bit of time because they have the All-Star game. That takes like off a week too. So
Yeah,
there's literally nothing on TV right now that I'm really interested in watching. So I think we're like a week away or maybe a week and a half away from the Hall of Fame game, which
hmm
basically lets me know we are close to
we
having a
getting there.
season, bro. So we getting there, man.
We
But yeah,
getting
I'm
there
just kind of ready. I'm just kind of ready for the season to get going, bro. Honestly, that's really where
for
I'm at,
sure.
man. At
For
this
sure.
point.
It's a slow time, man. Like we said last week, it's just slow right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's exciting though, man, because training camp starts next week.
yeah.
Or does it start this week? Actually, it
For
starts
some
this week.
teams, it started this week. I think like the Jets started this week.
Yeah,
A couple teams, Kansas City, I think started today.
yeah,
Um, and Justin Ross is getting first. I don't know if you've seen that. Justin Ross getting first team reps right
yeah.
now.
I
So
seen I
kudos to
seen your
him.
tweets about it, man. For real.
Yeah,
Shout out to him.
yeah,
That was
extremely happy for him.
Yeah, I'm happy for him, man. It's he, he should have been, he would have been, I feel like at least, a top two or three drafted wide receiver in his class if he was healthy. So,
Yeah,
it's really
no,
good to
I
see
agree.
him, see him get out there and get in shape, get healthy and everything. But yeah, man, I'm
Yeah,
excited though,
yeah.
man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Next week, we will not be having a podcast, you guys. We're actually going to be in Spartanburg on the 29th. So next Saturday, we'll be in Spartanburg. We'll be shooting a lot of TikTok content, social media content, podcast content out there. So there will not be a podcast show next weekend. And then we'll be back the following week because that'll be the first week of like preseason games. So we'll
Yeah,
definitely be back that week. But yeah, we will be in Spartanburg. I think somebody actually in the comments here just said they'll be in Spartanburg on the 29th as well.
yep,
Watching the Panthers and stuff like that. And we'll be out there. So if y'all see us, man, come say hey. Me and Cal will be out there shooting content together. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a part on TikTok or on YouTube, because this will be going on there, let us know, man. We'll definitely, we'll have some questions for you guys that we can ask. And it's going to be fun, man. So we're
yep,
really excited about next week. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Football is really here. We'll get a first glance at Bryce Young. So that's gonna be fun, man. I'm really excited. So
yep,
kind of want to talk about what the show is gonna look like today, man. So today we're gonna talk about probably the biggest issue in sports right now is these NFL running backs not getting paid. We're gonna talk about that. That's gonna pretty much take up a majority of the podcast today, most likely. Then we're going to talk about NIL. Is NIL good for college athletics? Is it really good for college sports? Let's just be flat out honest. And how does it affect the day-to-day in college sports? Let's talk about that as well. Then we'll do our draft at the end of the podcast. We always do. Oh, one more thing. I want to talk about Steph Curry too. He just dropped a
hmm
documentary on Apple TV that's called like Underrated or something like that.
yeah,
A lot of people gave it backlash. So we'll talk about that briefly, and then we'll go into our last segment, which is our drafts. Y'all have loved the drafts. Y'all have blew it up on Twitter and TikTok. Everybody loves our drafts. So we'll do that
and
at the end.
let's talk about Bryce Young's contract too. I meant
Yeah,
to say
Bryce
that.
Young contract. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll bring that up
he
as
just
well.
signed.
Yeah, because he just signed as well. So we'll definitely talk about a little bit of Bryce Young too. We actually might start off with that and then jump into the
Yeah,
running. Because I completely forgot about that. That's a good point. So
yeah,
we'll talk about Bryce Young's contract a little bit, and then, like I said, we'll end it off with a draft at the end of the day. We are going to be drafting our running backs, man. So we're going to be drafting NFL running backs right now, and I won the draft last week, so I'll be starting off this week with the draft again. We'll be drafting our top 5 running backs on each side, so 10 running backs in total. So
yeah.
that'll be interesting, and we'll see what happens from there. But let's go ahead and jump into it. You just brought it up. Bryce Young just signed a contract. Was that on Friday? That was
Yeah, I
Friday.
think so. It
Yeah.
was
So yeah, Bryce Young just signed a contract on Friday. You know, once again, I mean, well deserved. 37.9 million. I think fully guaranteed. I don't know if we've ever seen a fully guaranteed rookie contract. I don't think I have, at least. So this might be the first one we've ever. This might be the first time we've ever seen a fully guaranteed.
I know Bijan got one for this year.
Okay.
He also got a fully guaranteed. But I don't think they're not really common. I don't think
it's not common.
To my knowledge.
No, especially for a rookie. I don't think it's very common to have a rookie already getting a big contract, a fully guaranteed contract. So Bryce Young inked this deal, 37.9, 24 million sign-up bonus. And we're gonna see him next Saturday in Spartanburg. I mean, he's the number one pick. He was the number one pick for a reason. You can really argue he was he was one of the better players in college football really last year, and he was the best player the year before. How do you feel about Bryce Young just in general, man? I know I'll give my spill after you, but how do you feel about Bryce Young? How do you feel about the contract?
Ultimately, man, I think it's well deserved. I think with him being, the future of the franchise and him really, I mean, it seems like everything that's been said going throughout minicamp, Brian Burns gassing him up and he's the best player on the team. You know what I'm saying? The coaches are already saying that, he's going to be the starter, went ahead and gave him the job. Seemed like 2 days after he even stepped foot in, on the practice field and everything. So it's looking good for us in Carolina that, they believe and trust in Bryce Young so much. He's starting to wow people. His leadership is something that everybody's talking about. So it's well deserved. A lot of money. Shout out to him for, basically he's set for life now already with that fully guaranteed contract. So it's really good for him, man, to get that almost $40 million just sitting in the bank account. I think he said what 27 million signing bonus or something like that.
I think 24 million guarantee, which I think pretty much. I mean, I think every rookie quarterback that's the first overall pick normally gets around like 24 million. Immediately, as soon as they sign.
Right.
So as soon as he signed that paper on Friday, 24 million went into his account. If it didn't go in there Friday, it's going to go in there tomorrow morning.
Monday. Yeah. But
so he's going to be a very, very rich man, and either already or in a couple hours.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's good, man. Ultimately, I just think it's like I said, it's a lot of money. He's going to go out there. I think he's going to earn a lot more. Over these next 4 years probably. He got my man right here, Ethan, said that he got a deal with Bojangles, so that's huge. All Panthers quarterbacks seem to have a deal with Bojangles, so it's kind of nice that he's he's getting that, and it's just nice to see, man. It's nice to kind of have hope, at least from the quarterback position in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Bryce Young, well deserved. I was excited with the pick when we made the pick. I think he once again is one of the better quarterbacks in college football. I think the year before he was the best quarterback in college football. And Bryce Young, I mean, he deserved to be the number one pick. I don't think nobody really knocks that or denies that. Even with his size, I don't think nobody looked at the film and said, okay, this guy should nowhere near be the top pick in the draft. I think everybody kind of expected him to be, one or two. You know what I'm saying? So for me, big deal. Obviously, like Ethan just said, I like that he's embracing Carolina. Like coming in immediately, signing the Bojangles. Like if you from North Carolina or Carolina period, you know how folks feel about Bojangles. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a sentimental place to us. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he came in automatically and did that, I really like how Bryce is just embracing the culture and embracing, all of what Charlotte has. Charlotte is a great sports city. And it's in that city and that, state of North Carolina and South Carolina as well. They're going to support you when you win. And I think Bryce Young is going to pretty much do that immediately when he gets to Carolina. I think it's going to be an immediate impact. He's already been named quarterback one. I think this guy has a really bright future. And like I said, I think the contract is well deserved. I wouldn't be surprised. And, 4 or 5 years from now, we're talking about this guy being a top 10 quarterback in our league. So, that's really the goal for him and should be the goal for the Panthers. So I'm really excited about Bryce Young, and I definitely think he deserves this contract. That's pretty much that. Really excited. I think the Panthers rookies just got down to training camp yesterday, I believe. So he just got down there, new ink deal. So we're glad to see that. Glad everybody is signed now before training day. We didn't have any Nick Bosa situations going on or nothing like that. So just glad that's going on. So let's go ahead and jump into our next subject, which is probably going to be the main subject of the day. Let's talk about these running backs. Running backs not getting paid in 2023. This would have been crazy to say 20 years ago that running backs were not getting paid. But paid, you know what I'm saying? Really, even 15 years ago, it would have been crazy to say that.
Yeah.
But you have a situation now where Josh Jacobs didn't get a contract. Saquon Barkley, who was really the face of the Giants, I would think as of right now, and really their main, obstacle when it comes to moving the offense, moving the ball, he is the guy. You know what I'm saying? He's pretty much their offense. They don't have any weapons at wide receiver. They just got Darren Waller, but last year they didn't even have him. I still think Daniel Jones is a bottom 20 quarter. I think he's like a bottom starter, bottom tier starter, even though he had a better year last year. I would probably put him around like 22, 23, somewhere in that ballpark as far as ranking. And Saquon Barkley doesn't get paid, which, like I say, he's the heart of that team. Now, these running backs have now came together, and you brought up something before we even got on air that I didn't even know about. They create this group chat, and I'll let you explain that a little further. Pretty much saying we're fed up, that we're not being valued. When you look at guys like Christian McCaffrey, right, he might be the last one that got a big deal that's going to ever get it for real. I don't really think anybody else that's a running back is going to be getting those type of deals. So for me, I'll just go ahead and put my point out here now. Do I feel remorseful for running backs right now? Yes, I do. I feel bad for running right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I really do feel bad for running backs. But are the teams correct on what they're doing? Yes. Yes. In my opinion, yes. I'm not going to pay a running back that's going to be hurt by the age. You got to think about it. These running backs they get pounded into the dirt in college even. So when they get NFL, they're already in their really athletic prime at that point. The age of 21, 22, somewhere in that area. When they get to 27, most of the time they're cooked. Most of the time, if you're not built like Derrick Henry, who's really built like a linebacker, you are cooked at that point. So for me, I don't see the need to give you a second contract for 4 or 5 years that's going to be a multi-million-dollar deal when I know from probably the age of 27 to 30, you're going to be pretty much at the IR card the whole time. I don't see the need to pay running backs money when there's a dime a dozen of them. Look at the draft last year, for example. Isaiah Pacheco was drafted in the 7th round. 7th round. You can go get another Isaiah Pacheco next year in the draft.
Yeah.
You can do it again the year after that. I mean, that's just the facts. And then this person right here just said it personally. He said what I was going to say. They should have negotiated a better CBA. I 100% agree. 100%. Even if running backs have to have their own salary cap that's away from the team. Like I know they were talking about doing that for quarterbacks at one point, but if they do that for running backs, maybe they should have negotiated that. I 100% agree with this. Your loss, unfortunately. Like it's jacked up, and I do feel bad for running backs. I want to make this clear again. I do feel bad for them, but at the same time, I don't. Like I'm just not gonna overpay for some running back that's probably gonna be on the injury card the whole time. Look at all the available running backs right now. Dalvin Cook, a tremendous running back, still available. I know he gets a lot of slander. Ezekiel Elliott, still pretty decent running back. Nobody's looking at him. Leonard Fournette, decent average to above average running back. Nobody wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole. It's just everybody knows the writing on the wall now. Yeah. This is the method, and this has always been my method. You draft a running back. The year after that, you don't draft a running back. When that running back that you just drafted is going into that third year, go ahead and draft another running back.
Right.
Because they're going to want to get paid that next year. You get to that next year, and you say goodbye. I know that's jacked up. I know y'all like, Tony, that's jacked up. But that's just the way I think they're right. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I think they're right, bro. Like, the teams are right for doing that because we've seen the injury history. Paying running backs have not panned out, but like once or twice in recent history. Derrick Henry, and that's because he's built like a freaking linebacker. And then, you know, Christian McCaffrey now seems to be kind of exactly, and that's even shaky.
Yeah.
Now he seems to be turning the corner since he's in a new system, a new environment. But we know his history in Carolina. You know, it's just it's jacked up. I know it sounds like this guy just said it right here. That's heartless, but that's the game, bro. Unfortunately, like that's how, like it. And I hate to say it, you shouldn't have played running back, bro. It sounds horrible. I know, but it is what it is. I'll let
Yeah.
you go there, man.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. The call that you had mentioned earlier. So it was a Zoom call. Austin Eckler had organized it, and according to this list right here, so it was attended by Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, and J.K. Dobbins. And so they were basically talking about their declining market. And pretty much, man, it's really sad when you look at it. I'm the same boat as you. I feel bad for these running backs because a lot of them, especially you just mentioned Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's the best player on his team, bar none, to be honest with you, or at least on the offensive side of the ball, for sure. He's the face of the Giants. Like you said, he's probably the main catalyst for them getting into the playoffs. You mentioned Daniel Jones. Typically, your quarterback is your face of your franchise, your offensive catalyst. Saying your leader. But everybody knows that they could have probably did a whole lot better if they had a different quarterback. You know what I mean? If they had somebody better to go along with Saquon Barkley. They didn't have any wide receivers. And so really Saquon is really their only offensive weapon, right? Their only offensive focal point. And so, it is really sad that they didn't come to an agreement with him. I understand the injury history and everything, but I feel like, in my opinion, I think you have to pay who you have, right? They paid Daniel Jones and he only threw for 15 touchdowns, right? But why couldn't you pay for Saquon Barkley, somebody who was one of the league's top rushers? You know what I mean? Somebody who basically accounted for a lot of the offensive yards that the New York Giants had. Um, and really, I'm gonna break it down in terms of contracts. I know you talked about it earlier a little bit. You said, you kind of as a running back, they're kind of losing that market value. So really, it seems like the last running backs that got paid were Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Alvin Kamara, and I believe that was all in 2020. And they got some ridiculous contract value in there, and they got a lot of money and guaranteed money. But guess who? I want you to take a guess on who the fourth highest guaranteed paid running back is right now in the NFL. Let's take a wild guess.
Is it Miles Sanders?
Nope. But he's up there though. In terms of value, but he's not in terms of guaranteed money, he's not up there.
Okay, let me go. I'm thinking somebody injury prone. Am I close?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so no,
So
so Derrick Henry?
no. So he's top three, but number four is actually Bijan Robinson, a rookie.
Oh
So
wow.
so they went ahead. So he got his money up front. He got
Yeah.
$21 million, almost $22 million fully guaranteed in his contract. And so that makes him essentially the fourth, I guess, earning running back in terms of his guaranteed money. So he's got all his money. It's all there. And I personally think that the Falcons are kind of smart with that because they've kind of gone ahead and said, hey, we're gonna pay you now. We're letting you know that we're gonna work you like a dog, brother.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you gonna get you getting paid because we're gonna actually use you, like how the Carolina Panthers use McCaffrey and how the Giants use Saquon. We're gonna run your wheels off and you're gonna
Yeah.
get your money now. And if you survive the end of your contract, they might pay him, they might not, but they're making sure he get his money now. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a smart thing to do, especially when you have a safe bet like Bijan Robinson. Like we know he's gonna probably touch the ground and be probably one of the top 10 running backs in the NFL this upcoming season. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of a safe bet to go ahead and say that just because of how highly touted he was coming out of college,
Yeah.
similar to how Saquon Barkley was his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But the market, man, it's getting sad, man. I mean, in terms of value, you know what I mean. Alvin Kamara right now is the highest paid running back in the league in terms of value. In terms of annual value, is Christian McCaffrey, of course. And they're utilized in a certain way to where now, with the 49ers, McCaffrey's, there's other running backs behind him that get touches, right? Instead of in Carolina where he was the only one getting work. Like, and I believe it was 2019, he took 98% of snaps for the offense. Ridiculous. And as a running back, you get hit every single play. So that means he got hit 98% of plays that the Carolina Panthers ran in that year. Alvin Kamara, he's getting paid a lot, but as we know, he doesn't run the ball a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, he's never had 1,000-yard rushing season.
He has never had 1,000. I
Because,
just found that out the other day ago. He has never had 1,000-yard rushing season.
Right. But it's because they use other running backs. They always bring in somebody that can, give him a break. You know what I mean? So that way he's available on third down and he's available late in the season. Derrick Henry, we already know what he's like. You already said it. He's built like a linebacker. He can take those hits. He's starting to wind down now, but he's still one of the top backs in the NFL. But then after that, I mean, you got a lot of running backs who are really looking for that check. Josh Jacobs, like you mentioned earlier, led the league in rushing last year. Didn't get a contract. That's insane to me. You know what I mean? Especially for the Raiders, who, I mean, you have Devontae Adams. You just lost Darren Waller. You just lost your quarterback and brought in Jimmy G, who's probably a little bit worse than Derek Carr, I would say. And so now you kind of, what are you going to do? You should have probably paid Josh Jacobs that money, especially considering that he doesn't have an extensive injury history like a lot of these other running backs do. So I'm with you, man. I think, the market I think it's sad for running backs right now. I think they should be paid in a way that is, that's feasible with the cap. I agree with you said earlier that, maybe for the next CBA that they can probably negotiate something that says they get paid outside of the salary cap. Yeah. Because you do need a running back, even though you might not need a good one. If you have a good one, you need to pay him. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that, it's okay to pay running backs, but you just have to do it in a way that it's not strapping your cap.
Right.
I think a lot of these running backs, I think they understand that too. But it's just tough because I think a lot of teams are starting to wake up to the idea that the passing game in the NFL is really what's king right now. And so that's really the main reason why these running backs aren't getting paid, because when they get used up, they end up getting injured, but every team is always looking for that quarterback anyway, right? And so they'd rather spend the resources on the quarterback and surrounding that quarterback with wide receivers, tight ends, people that are going to actually help him, rather than paying a running back who needs to eat his touches to earn his money. So yeah, it's a tough market, man.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. And like I said, I'm not trying to sound like a heartless person or anything like that, but that's just where we're at right now. And also as well, too, I did some more research. We really haven't had an elite running back win a Super Bowl since Marshawn, Lynch. It's been since 2014.
That's 10 years ago.
Go back and look through the last 10 or so, championship winning teams that have won the ship. The last team that had a elite running back to win a chip was the 2013 or 14
Seattle
Seahawks. That was the last one. They were the last team that had an elite running back. So even with that, that's not really helping the running backs' causes, because you look at the Chiefs, they do the whole running back by committee thing. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they got McKinnon. What's my other guy? They got Pacheco. They got those guys. So they can kind of mix it up a little bit. A lot of these teams now are doing running back by committee. So they're not doing a mainstay running back anymore like it used to be, or like a, this is our 3-down back. Nobody's really doing it anymore. So I think that's another reason that the running backs are just really kind of taking L's in this whole situation, because for one, you're not really producing championship wins for us, honestly.
Right.
And then on top of that, if we could just get three of these guys to do the one job that you're doing, and we'll pay them less than you as one person, we'll just do that. That's just the easiest way to do it. And this guy said it perfectly. We lost Christian McCaffrey as Panther fans. We lost Christian McCaffrey, and the run game got better. The Panthers had a top 5 running game last year. And we all know that Christian McCaffrey is better than Deontay Foreman. Don't get me wrong. Deontay Foreman is a good guy, but running backs are easy replaceable. Jordan Poole season, you hit it on the nail, bro. That's right where I'm at with it. That's just the way things are right now. Unfortunately for the running backs, unfortunately for them, that's where things stand right now. And until the game revolts back to a running game type situation, which I do not think it will, but if it ever does, I mean, then running backs will be back in play. But as of right now, I just don't see it happening for running backs as far as going long term and getting big contracts. I just don't see it happening no more, bro. In my opinion.
Not at all, man. I agree. I think I wanted to pull up a picture, man. I had it. You said it just a minute ago. Like a lot of times they're replacing one running back with a committee. And I was gonna bring up the point about the Eagles of what they did.
Yeah,
and
I seen that they had like 4 running backs.
Five
running backs that didn't even equal up to one of Miles Sanders' contract. And the running backs they had on there were pretty straight. They had Swift, Boston Scott, Gainwell, which is a really good back. Like that's what I'm saying, bro. Guys they're not paying running backs no more like that, bro. That's just what it is. Unfortunate, but like if I had a son right now and he said I want to play football, running back is not an option. It's just for me personally, it's not an art. It's not an option. And like this guy, he said it perfectly, man. Like honestly, having multiple running backs may be even better than having a star like Christian McCaffrey because they have their different styles. They have their different ways they run the ball. They all have unique
skill
abilities that they can pull out. That one running back may be a ground and pound guy. One guy might be a twitchy guy. One guy might be a speed guy. So you have them for different situations. That's another reason I think the running back for committee thing is amazing, honestly. So that's just my personal opinion. I think you need to be drafting a running back every other year, personally.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember.
No, that's just me. But yeah.
I don't know if you remember. This was 2021. This was last season. First couple of games of the season when Dan Orlovsky basically broke down our offense and basically said when Christian McCaffrey lines up here, this is what they're doing. When he lines up here, this is what they're doing. And he basically exposed the entire Panthers offense just like that. And I feel like that was one of the unraveling points in Matt Rule's tenure because it was so predictable when you have Christian McCaffrey on the field all the time. Like you can basically just watch him and understand like where the offense is going. If he's lined up in the backfield, might be a run. If he's lined up next to the quarterback, it's probably a pass. It was something simple and crazy that, that you can't, if you have a running back by committee, you can kind of get around that because they might see, for example, with the Eagles, they might see DeAndre Swift in the backfield, right? And they might think it's a run, but really it's a pass. Or they might see Boston Scott on the field and be thinking it's a pass, but it turns out it's actually a run, right? And so, like you said, in terms of the committee, so the Eagles got DeAndre Swift for $1.8 million, which is insane to me. They got Rashad Penny for $1.4 million, which is also insane to me. Boston Scott making the most out of all of them for $2 million. Trey Sermon making $1.1 million, and then Kenny Gainwell making less than $1 million. And it equals up to $7.2 million, which is exactly what Miles Sanders is making in a year. So it's crazy how they got all those running backs, 5 pretty good running backs. If you ask me, they can all get the job done. And the Panthers are paying, Miles Sanders, who is a good running back in my opinion, by the way, but they're paying him $7.2 million, to basically get the job done that 5 running backs that you can pay for cheap can get done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a declining market, man. It's tough, man. And I hope something comes out of it to where, the teams are, first and foremost, that the running backs are happy. And then the teams aren't really damaging their cap trying to keep 1 or 2 guys. I hope some kind of compromise or, middle ground.
Let me ask you a question, Cam, to stay on this topic a little bit. Do you think we're seeing the end of the running back position? I'm going to tell you why I say that. because you remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but in the early 2000s, fullbacks used to be a thing. H-backs
Yeah,
used to be a thing. Where are they at now? Gone. Most
yeah,
teams don't even keep an H-back on their team anymore. So
no,
I wonder now with this becoming a pass-heavy, league and a pass-heavy game, are people starting to just go to more like five wide type
yeah,
situation from now on? I just wonder in a couple of years, will the running back position be almost somewhat annihilated?
yeah.
Uh, that's
I
kind of what especially with so many scrambling quarterbacks now, to where, and
right,
that's
yeah,
also another thing that's hurting running backs is now these quarterbacks can run. They can
hmm
develop their own running threat. So that's another thing that's kind of hurting running backs from getting that bag. So my question to you, I guess, is like, do you think the running back position will go extinct in the coming years?
No, I don't think so because I feel like at the end of the day, football was always kind of it really started with running the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I just find it really hard for them to totally annihilate running the ball in football. I think you still need to run the ball. For example, if you have a lead, like that's really where running the ball comes into play. Like if you have a lead, a huge lead, you got to run the clock out somehow, right? And you don't want to run your quarterback 20, 25 times a game and get him hurt and busted up and injured. So I think you're always going to have a need for running backs. Now, fullback was a different thing because you didn't the game evolved so much to where running the ball, you didn't have to use your fullback. You could use your halfback, which are
Right.
today's running backs, right? And um, so I feel like the game is just going to evolve to the point to where instead of running back being in a pivotal part of the of the game plan, I think you're going to see something more like kind of what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl this year. Miles Sanders was, leaned on heavily in the regular season. And then when you got to the Super Bowl, kind of Jalen Hurts became quarterback and running back pretty much. Um, I
Yeah.
think more teams are going to start doing that. Now they lost the Super Bowl, but more teams are going to start doing that to where, like you said, where you have your quarterback who can scramble, who can run, design reads, all of that, RPOs, what's it called, options. You're going to see a lot more of that moving forward at the quarterback position to where the running back position is almost like, on the back burner, but they're still going to be needed. You know what I'm saying? You still going to need a
Yeah.
running back to change the pace. And if you have a lead in the game, then it's always going to be necessary. So I don't think it's going to ever go extinct, but I do think the positional value is going to diminish to the point to where we're looking at running back almost as kind of like having a kicker where you can just
Yeah.
replace them every year.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying, if you don't have like one of those elite guys that you just have to keep, I think running back's going to be like that where you just replace them every year.
Yeah, man, I absolutely agree. I don't think it'll go completely extinct, but I do think it's diminishing quickly.
Yeah,
Especially like I said, with all the passing options now, you have now created the RPO. It's just I don't think that you know running backs will be as valuable. And I hate to say it, you're going to see a lot of more running backs probably complaining coming soon because
oh
I
yeah,
don't think that this contract thing is going to change. In my personal opinion, that sucks. That
yeah,
does suck for them. Don't get me wrong. It does stink. But that's where we're at now, man.
yeah,
Unfortunately for them, that's just kind of where we're at. Before we move on to the next subject, man, I want to say shout out to y'all, man. On YouTube, we got up to 75 subscribers now, man. So we jumped up like 10 subscribers in a week. So shout out to you guys, man. Continue to follow our YouTube page. So we're definitely using that a lot more. TikTok, y'all know the vibes. Just follow our social media pages, man. We appreciate y'all for that. And I just wanted to give y'all a shout out on YouTube because y'all really have ran it up. We had our first video that went over 300 plus views the other day ago. So that was nice. So just want to say shout out to y'all that's using YouTube. And man, I'm just excited about what we're building here. People are starting to really see what we're doing. And we appreciate the
yeah,
love and support, man. Y'all don't know how much that means to us. So I just wanted to stop for a minute and say that. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and kind of transition a little bit. Before we transition, though, do you see what Dabo is doing in the recruiting ranks right now?
yeah, man.
Dabo
I
is
see.
cooking.
Yeah, it seemed like something always happens. It slows down, and then Clemson makes a huge splash, that kind of picks everything back up. So it's really good, man. It's nice to see. I'm excited for the future of the program. Just all these top guys coming in, 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever it may be. I like it. I think it's new, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, to kind of see, because I feel like I think you tweeted out yesterday. You said Dabo's not really going for these types of a certain type of player anymore. Seems like
Yeah.
he's going for the cream of the crop, the best of the best now.
Right. Yeah.
And I like that, man. I like that. I think that's what you got to do. We talked about it a little bit last week, but that's what you got to do to move forward into the future with your program. You can't keep, staying in your own ways. You got to keep trying new things. And so I really do like what they're doing, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know we about to get into the NIL stuff now, but Dabo is doing a tremendous job on the recruiting trail right now. I mean, he signed Sammy Brown, a month ago? Probably top linebacker in the country, a lot of people would say, or even number 2 maybe. Then also as well, he got Brian Westcott out of the state of Texas. A lot of people say he's probably the 3rd best wide receiver in the country right now. Some say number 2 behind Jeremiah Smith. I mean, this guy's electric. Then yesterday, he went back to the state of Texas again and got Corey Gibson, top 70 player in the country, coming from Texas. I mean, Dabo is going crazy, recruiting wise, man. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out, man, because I mean he's been going in, man. So I definitely wanted to give Clemson a little love because they've been turning up on the the recruiting for sure, man. They've been doing some real serious work. But that gets into my next point is NIL. Let's talk about NIL a little bit. This week we had SEC Media Days. Next week we'll have ACC Media Days. So that's going to be interesting. We'll cover that the week after, we get back from the Spartanburg situation. But pretty much he's been saying what Dabo has said for years. He's been saying what Saban has said for years, and many other coaches have said for years, that they feel like NIL is hindering the game, it's changing the way the game is played. And he even admitted, Lane Kiffin admitted, he uses NIL. He's used the transfer portal to help his team get better. So I do appreciate him admitting, I'm not going to lie, I use it too. But he's pretty much saying that he feels like NIL and the transfer portal has ruined a lot of college athletics and mainly college football. And me and you were kind of talking about this last night. We were talking about how does that work with certain players? Like, say you're a 3-star recruit. Are you going to get NIL bag? Like, what happens with that? So I guess my question, and I'll kind of start it off, is NIL really good for college sports? In my opinion, I'm going to give you 2 answers here. One, I'm going to say yes, because I do feel like college players should be paid for their image and likeness. I do not deny that. I don't think I think people take what Dabo said wrong. Dabo said if they start paying these players as employees of the university, he would quit. But NIL, he's always been for that. Always. And I think Dabo got taken out of context when he said that. But NIL, to me, name, image, and likeness, they should be paid for that. Absolutely. There shouldn't be a question for that. You should be paid for your name, image, and likeness. Hell, if me and Cam, when we blow up, because we're going to go ahead and claim that in the name of Jesus, when we blow up on this podcast and somebody want to use our name, image, and likeness, we want a check. Nothing's wrong with that. You should want your check for somebody using something of you. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the reason that it's negative is because now colleges are changing, and it's already been this way anyway. It's just been under the rug. They're using this as pay to play. So, for example, you had a situation last year with the Florida quarterback, Jayden Rashada, right? Well, he's supposed to get $13 million from Florida, allegedly. It came time to pay up. They didn't have nothing for him. So you're going to see a lot of situations like that happening with this whole NIL stuff too, that I think is bad for the game. Because now he came from being Florida to, I think he's now Arizona State because his dad played there or something like that. And he's probably in the portal again if somebody asks for more money. So I guess my question for you and for the whole crowd, and you can comment in the comment section too, is NIL really positive for sports and for college athletics?
Yeah, I think it is. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, it's kind of it's part of the society that we kind of live in. You know what I mean? You want to pay you want to, like you said, you want to get paid for your face, pretty much, for your
Right.
name being out there. I think it's a little deeper than just than people getting paid for their name, their image and likeness. I think ultimately, I think um, the amount of money that these players bring in for these universities. I'll tell you right now, from Clemson, these players, I mean, their faces, their names was thrown out everywhere. We brought in Clemson is a small town in
Yeah.
South Carolina, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
tiny. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
But
literally just
every
university, pretty much.
it's just the university. The university has a bigger population than the town itself. You know what I mean? Um, and they add to the statistics. But every other Saturday, you got 80 something thousand people packed into Memorial Stadium. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And they're not doing that to come see me. They're not doing that to come see you. They're not doing that to come see their kids. They're doing that to come see these athletes go out there and play football. You know what I'm saying? That's what they
Yeah.
come in there for. And so I feel like the people that bring in the most money should be making the money. You know what I'm saying? Um, I agree with what you said about with Dabo's comments. I think sometimes he says things that that just get taken a certain way, and
Yeah.
he just
Well, you
sounds a
know
certain
how it
way
goes.
when
The
he says it.
internet hates Dabo, so that's
Yeah,
that.
he
Yeah.
sounds a certain way when he says it. It just sounds so. It sounds wrong. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, it do.
it's just
Yeah, it does.
I think he says certain things loudly, but then quietly he does other things that make you say, "Oh, this is what he meant by that." You know what I mean?
Right.
But ultimately, like I said, I think players do need to get paid for what they bring to the university.
I
Now,
agree.
in terms of, are they getting paid adequately? You know, me and you talked about this a little bit, but it's suppose your left tackle is the best player on your team, but your quarterback is the face of the team. Who's
Right.
getting paid more? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, is your offensive line getting paid, for their name, image, and likeness? Are they getting paid, enough? You know what I mean? It's like you got some guys, for example, not to throw nobody name out there, but Dakota's Crawford, right?
Mhm.
Is he getting paid because of his name? It sounds cool, or is he getting paid because he's an actual good football player? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I feel like there's levels to it to where I think ultimately, in the society that we live in, it could lead to some kind of maybe jealousy, maybe not. I don't know the ins and outs of football and how the team feels about it. But I just wonder, like, if it was me, if I was, 1,000 yard wide receiver, really cool, you know what I'm saying, like a really good player, probably the best player on the team, but my name was John Smith, and I'm making 300K from off the NIL deal or something like that. But I see my man Dakota's Crawford making 2 million, and he only had 500 yards last season. Like, hold on now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I had the game win a touchdown. I did all this for the team. My man right there, like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So I just, I worry about that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people, their minds don't work that way. I figure, in a football environment when you're working with a team and everybody's so selfless, their minds probably don't work that way. But I just feel like sometimes a problem might arise when something like that happens. So ultimately, I think it's good, but I think there's certain, I think the ins and outs of it can be dangerous. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like I said, that's kind of where I stand with it. And this kind of goes off the NIL too, transfer portal, because that was another thing that Lane Kiffin talked about too
Yeah.
this week, that he said he just doesn't like, he really doesn't care for the whole, transfer portal thing and how kids are abusing the transfer portal and stuff like that. So I want to kind of get your take on that too. Because for me, I think the transfer portal is good. Now,
Hmm.
granted, I do think there needs to be some limitations on the transfer portal a little bit, because it
Yeah.
shouldn't be guys jumping in the transfer portal every other week.
Every
Like, oh
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like it, let me leave. Like, there
Yeah.
needs to be a one-time transfer rule. Once you transfer that one time, it needs to be capiche. Like,
Yeah.
if you do decide to transfer again, you got to sit out a year. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Now, granted, these coaches, and this is why I do agree with having the portal. These coaches are able to just jet out and leave at any time. You know what I'm saying? So you can't sit up there and most of the time these kids are not committing to schools anymore. They're committing to coaches and relationships they have built within recruiting. So now with this NIL and the transfer portal and all that, they should be able to have the choice to leave if their coaches are coached that they're really close with or whatever the case may be, leaves. They should have that option. Don't get me wrong. But every single year, like the dude, I think he plays for Tennessee now, and I'm trying to slander him. Brew McCoy, I think was his name. He was like in the transfer portal for Texas, USC. I think he did a double back. He went to USC originally, transferred to Texas, and went back to USC again. And now he's at Tennessee, I think, as a grad transfer. Like, that's too much, bro. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's too much transferring, bro. Like, that needs to be it on the transfers. Like, one, he shouldn't even been able to go back to USC again.
Yeah.
Like, that's too much. So I do think there's some abuse in it that is happening, and I think the NCAA is going to have to figure that out. But they scared because that lawsuit that they got put on them last year, they don't even want to touch nothing at this point.
Yeah, I think ultimately, like you said, I think, when you get recruited, there should be some kind of rule that says if your coaches leave, if your coach leaves, then you can leave. You know what I'm saying?
Leave. Right.
Like,
exactly.
I think when they do that, for example, so like my man right here said, about Dion when he left Jackson State. Like, I feel like everybody that was on Jackson State roster, that came into, they should be able to leave if they came in with, if Dion recruited them, right? They should be able to get up. They should be able to leave, go to another school, go to his school, wherever, with no waiting period, no sitting out, none of that. Like, you should be able to go automatic. And I think your first transfer, I agree. If you transfer, like, whenever, wherever, your first time, shouldn't be no waiting period. You should absolutely be allowed to transfer, right? But once you get into your second time, once you get into your third time, it should be 2 transfers max. You shouldn't be able to transfer 3 times because you only got 4 years in college.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you should get 2 transfers. One, you go wherever you want to. And then the second one, maybe you lose a year of eligibility, depending on what's going on. Maybe there's a reason for it. I think the reasoning that it should be more relaxed, right? Like, let's say you're just transferring because you're not getting playing time. You probably need a waiting period if this is your second transfer. But let's say you transferring because your grandma got sick, or you transferring because, because you just had a baby or something like that and you need to be closer to home. Let's say you transferring because, whatever the reason may be, if there's a legitimate reason, then yeah, absolutely you should be able to transfer, no waiting times, right? And I think there is a rule for that right now.
Yeah,
but they need to be more relaxed, because I think I remember, you probably know the story more than I do, but I think there was a kid who tried to transfer because his grandma did get sick. He tried to transfer to a new university, but the NCAA told him that he had to wait, like he had to sit out a year or whatever.
Good old Luke Ford. I remember from Illinois. I think his mom or his dad had got cancer or something like that. And prayers up to him. He was at Georgia and wanted to transfer back to Illinois, or either other way around, I think. This was a couple years back, and NCAA denied him. Or was it Luke Price? His name was either Luke Price or Luke Ford, but I definitely remember he was at Illinois. He was either at Georgia or at Illinois, and he was trying to move back to whatever school it was to be close to his mom or whoever was sick. So, yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think the transfer portal, ultimately, I see it worse in college basketball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of transfers in college basketball. And they've been transferring for years.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, sports, we always say it's a microcosm of society. People should be allowed to get up and move it when, wherever they need to. If there's a better opportunity elsewhere, then go. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should absolutely have the opportunity. I think about regular, just students that are athletes. We can transfer wherever we want to, and we ain't got to sit out a year or nothing, right? We just got to make sure our credits transfer, but we ain't got to sit out no year. So I feel like the athletes should be able to do that. I think if you're transferring, so like, let's say you graduated, you get 1 graduate transfer. You shouldn't get no extra year eligibility or nothing like that after that or whatever, right? Like, once you graduated, especially if you just doing it for sports, yeah, like you get your transfer out the way and that's it for you. But I feel like some players, especially with exceptions, medical exceptions, whatever it may be, they should be able to transfer when needed. But
Yeah,
ultimately, I think about what Tyrann Matthew said it in a tweet a couple months ago. He was saying like a lot of kids basically running from the grind, right? They don't want to sit back. Like Matthew said, he sat behind I think Mo Claiborne or somebody, and he said he waited his turn at LSU to get his shot. But I don't think that works for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some
right.
people are promised playing time early. Some people are promised playing time often, right? And I think if your coach or if your program isn't isn't going in on that promise, then you should absolutely get your shot to get up and lead and go find a
Yeah.
better opportunity.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that, man. You spot on. I pretty much agree with everything you said on that one, and that should be the restrictions, honestly.
Yeah,
I did want to go ahead and kind of move into another subject before we get to the Steph Curry subject. I was thinking about this last night, and this is kind of like a fun subject, and then we'll jump into the Steph Curry thing real shortly. We obviously are building a platform here. We're obviously building, the Cam and T show. We're taking it on the road next week in Spartanburg. Should be a blast. I was thinking about it last night, man. We're going to eventually start bringing people on here and
yeah.
interviewing them and stuff like that. Who would be your dream interview? Like, once this thing blows up or whatever the case may be, who would be your dream interview to get on this podcast with us?
Man. For us, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I think Bryce Young will probably be mine. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
just it's just in terms of this is a new era in Carolina. This is a
yeah,
new era, for us, for me and you. So I think Bryce Young would be great. Like a great guest, honestly, just to see his thoughts about the NFL. How he's adjusting from Alabama uh to the Carolinas and really just his whole mindset and kind of his goals and things like that just to see where he's at.
yeah.
What about you?
I think for me, man, I think Cam Newton would be mine.
Yeah.
Like that would be my dream interview, man. I think Cam Newton is such a good guy. And he just seems like a real relatable type of brother that I really could just sit down and not even just talk about. I mean, he's my favorite football player of all time. So that's
Mhm.
that. And secondly, man, like he just seems so relatable and so easy to talk to and so easy to understand. I think Cam Newton would be my dream interview to bring onto this platform. And it just really seems like he's just a good dude to talk to, a good dude to chop it up
Yeah.
with. And he gonna keep it real with you.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I don't know why I was thinking about this last night, but I think that would probably be my dream interview, would be Cam Newton. To have
Yeah.
him on here would be like, that would make my life for real, like, because that's somebody I
Yeah.
looked up to, you know what I'm saying, and
Facts.
respected, and respected what he did for me as a young, when I was in Charlotte, when he got drafted, I was in the I was in the 11th grade. Excuse me. I
Hmm.
was in 11th grade when he got drafted. So to see a guy like Cam kind of come from a similar environment than me and then like become who he was and become the face of the Panthers and stuff like that. And really at that time, kind of become the face of Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think it would be definitely dope to interview him like that. I think that would be dope. Like that would probably be my dream interview. I got a couple other ones, dream ones too.
Yeah.
Like Dabo Swinney is another one. I
Yeah.
would
That'd
love
be
to
another one.
sit
Yeah.
down and just talk to. Like I feel like Dabo is so misunderstood. Like everybody I talk to that knows him, black, white, Asian, it don't matter. They say he's amazing. Like
Hmm.
I would love to sit down and talk to him too. Like Dabo would be another dream interview for me as well. So yeah, bro, I definitely would. That's kind of my dream interview. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but like I said, I just wanted to bring it up
Yeah.
real quick. But
No,
that's something
I get it, man. I get it for
yeah.
sure. I
And
think, man,
plus, we kind
Dabo
of
is
in the
great.
slow months of July too, so I was
Yeah,
just trying to
man.
bring something up. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think Cam Newton would probably be my number one dream interview. I think Dabo would probably be my number two, and I would probably say like somebody legendary. Like I would probably say somebody like maybe like a Stephen A. Smith or something like that. Like somebody that
Oh yeah.
I probably would put
Yeah.
him number three on my list of people like I would want to interview. Like, cause I
Yeah.
think it would be fun. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up real quick.
Yeah.
Let me transition over to Steph Curry. He dropped this documentary called Underrated on Apple TV, and it's out now. I think it just came out. And a lot of people were slandering him. Like, how's he underrated? He come from money, and you know, his dad was in the NBA, and he had all the resources to become great. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I feel like this is kind of sports related. This is kind of not sports related because I do think there is a side of us regular humans that just make regular money that we kind of shun upon rich people. Like, we almost kind of like somewhat treat them less as humans. Like, that's just kind of not all of us, but most people do when you have money. And I kind of feel like when you really look at Steph Curry's career, he kind of is underrated. I mean, even though he did, now y'all are correct, he had the resources to become what he's became today. His dad was in the NBA. He lived in the richest part of Charlotte. I'm from Charlotte. He lived in the richest area of Charlotte. He had all the trainers he could have to make himself better. None of that is a lie. But I remember Steph Curry, and my dad and my mom was probably watching this. I remember when we used to go watch him play at this Dale Curry tournament every year, Christmas time. And he was scrawny. He was like not even 6. He was like 5'7", 130 pounds, which is why he didn't have any offers. He had one offer, and that was to Davidson, where he ended up going and becoming a legend. And he was scrawny. I remember sometimes he used to actually come to my neighborhood because Dale would want to roughen him up a little bit. He would go to Wingate Park. A lot of people from Charlotte know that park. Wingate Park. He would come out there and drop 40 on folks. Right. Steph Curry at the age of like 15, 16, I'm only like 9, 8 at this time. So I'm watching him drop 40 on some of my big homies. Like, he going crazy. And I do think Steph is underrated. I do think he fits that mold because Steph was scrawny, small. The ball was almost heavier than him at times, it seemed like. And I just seen a lot of slander on him yesterday that I just didn't really appreciate. Like, did he come from money? Yes, he did. Absolutely. Steph Curry overcame injuries. He had injury problems, something bad in college. And then in the pros, it got worse with the ankle. You know, Steph was scrawny. Like I said, he had to get in that gym and work because he really was a small guy, bro. Like, I'm going to pull up a picture and show y'all how small he was. Like, he was small when he was at Charlotte Christian. Small. He put in the work. He had one offer. That was Davidson. That was it. Nobody else was offering him. To me, to come from that to where he is now, he is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. And a lot of people say he's a top 10 player of all time. To come from scrawny to where he is now, to me, he deserves to be named underrated, in my opinion. And Ethan said it best. He revolutionized the three in the league, in the world, really. Like, everybody now wants to pull up and hit a three now because of Steph. He just changed the game. So I want to talk about that briefly. I do feel like, you know, his story kind of should be considered like an underdog story. That's in my personal opinion.
I agree. I think, you know, I think a lot of it, like you said, you know, when we see people every day on TV or on social media or whatever, we forget like that, you know, they have what they did, you know what I'm saying, that they're human too, and that they have lives or whatever. And people think that they know people just based off of what they see. But ultimately, you know, I think when we're talking about Steph Curry, you know, people forget that before 2014, nobody was talking about him like that. You know what I mean? Like before, like I remember my first, I guess, experience of Steph Curry was my Nuggets were, I believe we were 3rd in the West. The Warriors were the 6th seed, and they knocked us out the playoffs round 1. This was 2012, 13, I think it was that year. And I remember saying, like, I was like, dang, that's a good team. They're gonna be something. I didn't know they was gonna be what they ended up becoming. But but I was like, they're gonna be somebody. And obviously Steph was that guy. And you know, I feel like a lot of people forget that Steph wasn't always Steph. I know he's been Steph for 10 years, but he hasn't always been this greatest of all time shooter, this, you know, fantastic, you know, whatever you want to call him, top 10 player. He wasn't always this way. He worked his way up there. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like in a league where, specifically in this time, where you got, you had Kobe, right? You had, now you got LeBron, and kind of in that transition point where everybody was talking about LeBron, Steph kind of came out of nowhere and ended up becoming, now it's LeBron and Steph's era, right? This their era. You know what I'm saying? And so I think ultimately, when it comes to the underrated aspect, you know, who could think about that? Just seeing Steph Curry on the TV as a kid, 3, 4 years old, sitting at his dad's game in Charlotte. Who would have ever thought that he would become,
What he is
first and
now.
foremost, yeah, first and foremost, who would ever thought he would be better than his dad was all time, and who would have thought that he would be, one of the 10 best players to ever lace him up in the NBA? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think ultimately his story, yes, he came from an NBA family from his father. Yes, we understand that. Like, he had
Right.
the resources, maybe he did have a silver spoon or something like that. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, he worked hard to get to where he is. He had one offer, like you said, to Davidson. And I mean, he just transcended everything that ever came to him. Also, you like you said, people forget that Steph was considered a scrawny guy,
Yeah.
especially early on in his days. A lot of people talked about his defense, a lot of people talked about athleticism, a lot of people talked about his injury history. He overcame all that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so, while underrated, might not be the right term to encapsulate him right now, his over the course of his whole life and career, he probably felt like he was a little bit underrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he probably still feels that way, honestly, because you could really make an argument that Steph, is, like I say, I think a lot of people have him in the top 10. You can make the argument that he one of the goats. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you really wanted to make that argument, you probably could. So, I feel like he probably, I don't know who named the show or documentary or whatever, but he has every right to feel like he's underrated over the course of his life and his career.
I
So,
agree.
ultimately, I agree with everything you said. And I think, like I said, people online, they get on there and they just, want to talk about certain people that have certain things or whatever, or are rich or whatever. But,
Right.
ultimately, his story is an underdog story still.
I agree. I agree 100%, man. I mean, I think, like I said, from being 9 or 10 years old, 7 years old, whatever I was at Wingate Park, and seeing this scrawny kid that was only like 16, 15, and he was 140 pounds, barely
Yeah,
5'6", to become what he became, it's just tremendous. It's a great story to see. So I'm happy for Steph, and I do think he deserves that underrated title. Not now, of course, because he's top 10 player, I think, of all time. But
yeah,
in the course of his career, yeah, he went from Davidson to he went from 0 stars at Charlotte Christian getting recruited to top 10 player in the NBA. That's
yeah,
underrated, brother. Like,
yeah,
there's no other way to really put that. That's an underrated, true underrated story. So I am happy for stuff. I did want to just point that out real quickly. I just didn't agree with a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, he was rich and his dad." Ooh, I didn't like that, bro. I just feel like
yeah.
that discredits what he actually did and what he actually built. So that's
Right.
why I bring that up. But let's jump into our last segment of the day, the fun part of the day. We're jumping into y'all know how we do it at the end of the week, our draft. We are drafting our top 5 running backs in the NFL going into the 2023 season right now. I won last week, so we're going to go ahead and start with me getting the first pick overall, and then we'll go to Cam, and then back and forth we go. And that's how we're going to do it. So this is going into 2023. So this is who we think is the best running backs going into 2023. Y'all know the deal. Once I take a person, Cam can no longer take this person. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So as my number 1 pick is in today, top 5 running back, number 1 pick overall in my running back draft, I have San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. Here's why I take him number 1. Christian McCaffrey, you've seen once he changed places and left Carolina and left Matt Rule, he became the dynamic freakazoid that he was in Carolina when he first came. He turned the clock back pretty much. You see, he didn't get injured like that. He stayed healthy. He was going off. He was a vital part to that offense in their playoff run and up into the playoffs. Christian McCaffrey is my best running back in the NFL right now. Book it.
Yeah, I like that, man. I ain't gonna lie. I thought you was gonna go somewhere else with that top pick, but yeah, Christian McCaffrey, man, for sure. I think he's still in the conversation for best running back in the league. When healthy, I don't think anybody else has that skill set that he has.
And
So
that's
for
why I
sure,
took him number one, bro,
yeah,
because I
for
know
sure.
ain't nobody in the league do what he's doing right now. He's catching the ball out the backfield. He's making people miss. He can run ground and pound if you need him to. Once he gets an open space, it's curtains. I
Yep,
had to take him number one. His talent is unlimited.
yep, I agree, man. Well, with my first pick, man, this probably gonna be a wild card. You know what I'm saying? But
With
I'm
your
gonna
number
take
one
Nick.
pick?
My number one pick, man. I'm gonna take Nick Chubb. I like Nick
Okay,
Chubb,
that's a good
man.
one.
I think Nick Chubb, when it comes to just running the football, I think he's probably the best in the league right now. Um, I know the Cleveland Browns have a pretty good team around him, really good offensive line, but Chubb, man, he always get the job done. Relatively healthy player. I feel like he was, in terms of Georgia running backs, he's probably one of the best in history.
Yeah.
I feel like he was underrated coming out, especially going into the draft. For him to get drafted behind Sony Michelle was always crazy to me. But Chubb, man, I think he's the best running back in the game right now. So he's my top pick.
Yeah, that's a tremendous pick, bro. I was definitely battling between those two, Chubb and CMC. That's really kind of where I was heading. At my
Yeah.
number two pick overall, I will be taking Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans running back. Yes, has he taken a little bit of a step back? Yes, but you know what? Who cares? This guy is an absolute stud. He's going to run people over. He's going to get 1,000 yards every single season, just about, if he stays healthy. That's just where it is. Honestly, you really could have made an argument for him still being number one. I feel like
Yeah.
I have two number ones now on my board, so I'm taking Derrick Henry at number two.
Yeah. Respect, man. I really think that's probably the best top three you could possibly have. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
Derrick Henry, like he is. I ain't gonna lie, he's still probably one of my favorite players in the league. I just sometimes I go on YouTube and just look up his stiff arm highlights.
Yeah.
Just amazing, bro. But my number two pick, man, I'm gonna take the man of the hour. I got Saquon Barkley, man.
Ooh,
I think,
okay.
yeah, I think Barkley, when healthy, I think he's still one of the top running backs in the league. I think he's probably, again, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Chubb. I think Barkley's right there in the conversation with him. I think he's a franchise carrying running back. Like I said, when fully healthy, Barkley, I mean, he led the league in rushing as a rookie. So, I mean, he just kind of hit the ground running. And yeah, I got Barkley, man, with my second pick.
Man, you got me sweating this round. I'm not gonna lie. You might get your first dub this week. I ain't gonna cap, man. You might get your first dub. At
Coming
number
hot,
three,
bro.
yeah, you coming in high. I'm not gonna lie. My number three overall pick is best running back in the league. Number three overall, I have Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs had a tremendous season last year. He had 1,600 plus rushing yards last year. I think he was averaging like 4 yards a carry last year. He was an absolute stud. I think he's going to be just as good this year because he's going to be mad about his whole contract situation. I have Josh Jacobs as my number three pick overall.
I love it, man. I love it. My third pick, I'm really battling between two dudes.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with Austin Eckler with my third pick. Los
Ooh,
Angeles
okay.
Chargers running back.
Okay.
Eckler is a guy who, he's obviously a great running back. He can run the ball, but when it comes to receiving out of the backfield, I think he's probably the best running back in the league that can do that. Him and Christian McCaffrey would probably be the top two. Eckler is just a touchdown machine, yards, all of that. The Chargers offense, it really does kind of run through Eckler if you really look at it. He can do everything. It's a shame, with this contract situation that they're not paying him because when you look at touchdowns over the last few years, it's always Austin Eckler. In terms of fantasy football, you really can't go wrong with Austin Eckler either. So give me him as my top as my number three running back.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, brother. You cooking, man. I like what you got going on. Austin Eckler too. He gives you a different dynamic as far as he can catch the ball too.
Yeah.
Which I like that about him. So I like that. That's a good pick, man. At number 4 overall, I'm gonna take Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. Now I know
Mm,
last year he battled some injuries, but he's going to get over that 1,000 yards. I think last year was the first time he didn't get to 1,000 yards because of the injuries. I'm taking Jonathan Taylor as my number 4. I think he's going to bounce back this year. I think he's going to be able to really run the ball now even more with Anthony Richardson. They're probably going to run a lot of like read option and stuff. I think I'm going to take him at number 4 as my running back.
Love it, man. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, again, like you said, injuries kind of hindered him last year, but push come to shove, he's still one of the better running backs in the league. So
yeah,
I love it. With my 4th pick, this guy's looking for a team right now, but I got Dalvin Cook, man. I think Dalvin Cook really.
Yeah.
I think Dalvin Cook, man. Again, I like guys that can do it all, and Dalvin Cook, let's not even look at his college tape, because when it comes to college, he's probably one of the best running backs in conference history, probably in college history, to be honest with you. But in the NFL, man, he's always been good. 1,000 yards, you know what I'm saying? Good receiver out of the backfield, touchdown machine. I hope he finds a good home. I think a lot of teams could use somebody with his skill set. I look for the Buffalo Bills might get the Cook brothers, both of them on the same team. So I think Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the league. So I got him as my 4th pick.
That's a great pick, bro. Not gonna lie, you're really nailing it right now. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm a little worried. I'm not gonna lie. You are cooking this time. At number 5, my number 5 pick overall running back, last pick. This guy is super slept on. I feel like nobody talks about him. He had 1,200 yards running last year. Give me Aaron Jones, man. I think Aaron Jones is extremely underrated. He doesn't get talked about enough. And now, since there's no more, Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to be running the ball even more in Green Bay. I could see him really busting onto the scenes a lot this year. Give me Aaron Jones. Had 1,100 plus yards last year. That's who I'm rocking with. He averaged 5.3 a carry, and I'm excited to see what he does this year. So that's my top 5.
Yeah, I love it, man. Aaron Jones, man, he, like you said, underrated. In terms of underrated backs, got to be him, bro. Because nobody talks about he's without a doubt a top 10 running back in the league, but nobody talks about him like that.
Absolutely.
So I love it. Man, my number 5 pick, I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to turn some heads on this one. I know you love this player. I love this player. I was really deciding between 2, but I'm going to go with this guy because he's younger, and I think he's a younger version of the other guy that I was going to pick. But I got Travis Etienne with my 5th pick.
I knew you were going to do that.
I got Travis Etienne with my 5th pick. I was going between him and
Alvin Kamara. That's not horrible. A lot of people might slander you for this when this comes out, but that's really not horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you.
When you look at Etienne's numbers last year, man, 1,200 yards, you know what I'm saying? It was his first season coming off a Liz Frank injury. And Etienne, man, he's just a dynamic game changer. Receiving out the backfield, running the ball. He's slippery. He's elusive. He's fast. I mean, he's really the perfect running back. He really has no knock in his game that you can say, oh, well, he's not good at this. He's not good at that. Travis Etienne can do it all. He can block. I mean, I think he's going to be a top 5 running back this season coming up. So give me Travis Etienne. Look out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he's my number 5 pick.
That's not a horrible pick, bro. I know a lot of people might slander you for that last pick. I don't think that's a horrible pick at all.
Yeah.
Because this is going into the 2023 season. We're not really talking about, this is what's going to happen. I wouldn't even been mad if you would be John Robinson in there. I wouldn't even. Because he was definitely on my list. So this is how the draft breaks down. So I took Christian McCaffrey at number 1. I took Derrick Henry at number 2. At number 3, excuse me, hold on. This thing froze upon me. So at 3, I took Josh Jacobs. At 4, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So let me start over. So at 1, I took Christian McCaffrey. At 2, I took Derrick Henry. At 3, I took Josh Jacobs. At 4, I took Jonathan Taylor. And at 5, I took Aaron Jones. And then for your top 5, which I think your top 5, that's pretty good top 5 too. But I think your top 5 was pretty good too. At 1, you took Nick Chubb. A lot of people will say he probably is the best running back. Him and Christian McCaffrey 1A, 1B. Then at number 2, you took who did you take at number 2 again?
So I had Saquon Barkley at 2.
Yeah.
And then I read mine. So I had my top five. So I had Nick Chubb at one. I took Barkley at two.
Yeah.
I think I took Eckler at three.
Eckler at
I
three.
took
That's what it was. Yeah.
I took Dalvin Cook at four, and then I took Travis Etienne with my fifth pick.
That's a good five, bro. That's a good five. I'm not gonna lie, man. We're gonna put this up on YouTube, Twitter. Y'all can get in the comments now. TikTok. We're gonna put this everywhere, and we're gonna see who won. But this was a good one, man. Ethan just gave me the edge. Hey, man, Cam, don't let me go 3-0, bro.
Hey, bro.
This will be 3-0 or 4-0. This will be 3-0.
It's 3-0. Yeah.
Everybody saying I give it a T. Oh my God. Yeah, Cam.
Ain't looking pretty, bro.
Cooked,
Ain't looking pretty, bro.
Yeah, ain't looking pretty. It's a close one though. It's a close one.
Yeah.
I feel like the other ones, like I completely kind of blew you out the water. I ain't gonna lie. But this one was close. I'm not gonna lie. So we definitely gonna see. We're gonna post it up on Twitter and stuff like that. Probably tomorrow or tonight or something like that. But we're gonna post this up and see who won. Once again, man, great episode, great podcast. Y'all, next week we will not be on, but we will be in Spartanburg. You will still be having content for us. Please follow us on YouTube. Link is in all our bios at this point. Y'all should know where to go to get it. And yeah, man, TikTok, we're going to be on that as well. Link is in the bio for that. Instagram, link is in the bio. But we're going to not be on the audio, so we won't be streaming next week. But we will be creating content at Spartanburg for Panthers, training camp next Saturday. So we're really excited about that. We'll be out there. Feel free to come up and talk to us. Feel free to come, talk to us and stuff like that. If you want to get on camera, hey, let's get you on camera. We'll go ahead and put you on TikTok. Yeah, don't run from us. Yeah,
I'm coming for a few of y'all now. I'm letting y'all know.
So definitely, man. We're gonna be posting stuff on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube next week. But we will not be having this podcast next week. So I just want everybody to know that. But yeah, man, we will be at the training camp days next Saturday in Spartanburg. So definitely feel free to pull up on us. Feel free if you want to get on camera. I know some people not comfortable with being on camera. That's fine. But if you are, feel free. We will film and we're going to ask you questions and we're going to have a good time. So definitely pull up if you want to. It's up to y'all. But we definitely going to be creating content next week, but we just will not be doing this next week. We'll be back doing this the week after. So I just want to let that be clear again. So why everybody will be like, oh, why y'all ain't on the podcast this week? Because it's getting to a point now where people are actually checking for us, which is good. Which is good. That's a good thing. Like I had somebody like, oh, when y'all gonna tune in? I was like, dang, y'all actually checking for us. So that's great. We're excited. We love that y'all are checking for us. So I'm letting y'all know now that next week we'll be in Spartanburg Saturday, filming a lot of content, and that's pretty much going to be it for the week. We'll just be filming content from that, and we'll go from there. But Cam, once again, brother, great podcast, man. Appreciate you as always, man. And we're going to continue to grow, y'all. Continue to shout us out. Continue to share our stuff on YouTube. I just told y'all we got like 10 people that followed us this week. That is huge for us. We are new. We're just starting this thing. So any follower we can take, we will take. You know what I'm saying? So please feel free to follow us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on TikTok and all the other social medias, man. We really greatly appreciate it, man. Malik, our guy here, said the podcast is fire, man. Appreciate you, brother. Definitely appreciate that love and support, and we be needing it. You know what I'm saying? So definitely just thank y'all once again. We appreciate y'all. Cam, did you want to say anything before we sign out?
Man, appreciate it as always, man. Y'all already know, man. We love it. Love y'all. Thank you for for listening. You know what I'm saying? We'll be back.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Yeah, we definitely excited about it, man. So, and like I said, once football season comes in, we'll be tuning it up a lot. We'll be getting special guests on here. We just kind of want to establish ourselves first a little bit, and then we're going to start getting special guests on here probably come football season, which is right around the corner, maybe even right before football season. So we're super excited. Thank y'all for all the love and support, and we will see y'all, really, if you're going to be in Spartanburg, we'll see you next Saturday. But if not, we'll see you in 2 weeks, man. Peace, love, and happiness to all y'all, and thank y'all for tuning in.